today. All right, so here we go. So first off, of course, you're going to see some factoring today, as always. So let's just review our factoring process. Again, your trinomial lead coefficient 2. So we have to do kind of that long, obnoxious factoring process where we multiply the outside two numbers. Figure out what multiplies to -10, adds to -9. I got it. Key step then, you have to remember to divide off your lead coefficient of 2. Now we can do -10/2 in our head. I'm just going to put x minus 5. And don't forget, when you have a fraction, you have to put that denominator first and then the 1. So we are going to do some factoring, of course. You might have that trinomial, just a review of that. B, of course, super easy. Perfect squares. No work needed, right? X plus 1, x minus 1. C, trinomial, but easier. Lead coefficient 1. We just have to know our numbers. What multiplies to 7 and adds to -8?
7 and 1.
And let's throw negatives on them. So just vocab, you know, we love to talk vocab. Remember, these are the factors. Today, then, we're going to kick it up and we're going to ask you to write the factors and the solution. So then you would also put like x equals 5, -1/2, so on and so forth. So we're going to do a little bit of both. So like I said, we're going to do the factors, we're going to do the zeros, we're going to use synthetic division, we're going to use our graphing calculator. We're doing it all, my friends. So verify the given factors of the function. Find the remaining factors, use the results to write the complete factorization of f, we did that yesterday, and list all of the real zeros. Okay, so they give you one of the factors. Remember, to be a factor means it divides evenly into the polynomial, so you should get that 0 remainder. I'm going to do synthetic division. I mean, I guess if you want to do long, we could, but we could do synthetic because your divisor, binomial, highest exponent to 1, so I'm going to do synthetic. Now remember, I need the 0 from this, or the solution, to do my synthetic. So I'm going to use -3 as the divisor. As always, we're going to make sure our polynomial is in the correct order. It is, and you're not missing any terms. I know that got a couple of you yesterday when we were doing the notes. My evil ways. All right, again, the first number drops down. When we're done, we should have a 0 remainder. -3 times 3, add. -3 times -7, add. -3 times 2, got it. Look at us, crushed it, okay? Now, of course, we're going to recover that polynomial. I'm going to write it 3x squared minus 7x plus 2. And of course, it says it wants the complete factorization, so we're going to factor. So again, this is why we did that warm-up problem. We've got the trinomial lead coefficient 3. I'm going to have to do that kind of obnoxious factoring process where I multiply the outside two numbers, figure out what multiplies to 6, adds to -7. And then, of course, I got to divide those each by 3. We can do -6/3 in our head, of course, x minus 2. And then I'm going to put the denominator first, and then the numerator. So I'm just going to scroll this down here just a little bit so we can see everything. So it wants everything, complete factorization and all of the zeros. And that's what I'm going to ask you for once we get to the chapter test. So my complete factorization, I'm going to write it pretty. I'm going to have my x minus 2, my 3x minus 1, third degree. Don't forget the original factor they gave you. Don't forget your -3. So there's my complete factorization. Now underneath, I'm just going to list all the zeros. So we would get 2, I would get 1/3, and of course we already knew the -3. So there's all the factors, all the zeros. So again, I really haven't taught you anything new. We're just adding on, putting the zeros together with it too. Any questions on this guy? All right, let's take a look at the next one. So same thing, our factor 2x minus 1. We can do synthetic division on this, binomial, highest exponent 1. You could do long division if you love long division. Nobody does? Okay, we're going to set it to 0, of course. We're going to get the solution. So we'd add 1, divide by 2. Now we can do 1/2 in synthetic division. Then 1/2 isn't that scary. We're going to make sure our trinomial is in the correct order and we're not missing any terms. Looking good. All right, again, we should get a 0 remainder. So 1/2 of 2, add. 1/2 times 0, add. 1/2 of -10, add. And of course, I'm going to recover this polynomial style. So I'm going to have 2x squared. I'm not writing 0x minus 10. Now remember, we're after all factors, all answers. So I need 3 factors, 3 answers. Well, first thing that jumps out to me, I'm going to pull the 2 out of here. Just a little easier to work on smaller numbers. Now, sometimes you have to, shall we say, quote unquote, cheat the system, because there are 2 factors, there are 2 solutions that come out of this x squared minus 5, but it's a little dicier to factor on that. So I'm going to cheat it, so to speak. I'm going to get the zeros first. I'm going to set it equal to 0 and solve it. Then I'm just going to write the answers as factor 4. So I'm going to add the 5, and I'm going to root it. So I get plus or minus square root of 5. So there's 2 of my answers. Don't forget 1/2 was one of the original answers. So there's all my zeros. Now, of course, I'm going to list all of the factors. Well, our first factor was the one they had for the half, the 2x minus 1. And then don't forget, I'm going to do all of this as factors. I'm going to put x minus the square root of 5, x plus a square root of 5. You can put plus minus if you want to combo it. I'm going to write it separate. Now, before I circle it, I need to remember one extra thing to throw in here that I pulled out of the green. The 2. And I mean, really, usually put that in the front, but I don't really care where you put it. But don't forget him. So like I said, sometimes you have to work kind of quote unquote backwards and find the zeros first if it's not easy, nice whole numbers to factor, and then just write them as factors when you're all said and done. Okay, so any questions on those guys? All right, so what happens if, of course, I don't give you a factor of 0 to start with, which is our next problem to deal with. So I always like to, of course, graph it. That's a nice way to look at it. See, of course, if you have a nice 0, you can use your graphing calculator. We showed you how to do that. We're going to do it again. Hopefully you get at least one nice answer, one exact answer, then you can use your synthetic division. Hopefully after that you could factor, quadratic formula. I'm even going to toss on here too. I mean, you could complete the square, I suppose, too. Just going to put a little square symbol. So, and it just depends on what the quadratic is. If it's something easy, b's even, it's easy to do it, I'm going to complete the square. But it just depends what you like. You can use quadratic formula too. So the next situation we're going to encounter, it's more of the same, but I'm not giving you a 0, I'm not giving you a factor. So we need a starting point. That's the problem. So I might take a look at the graph. You might be able to look at the polynomial and factor it. It just depends on what we have. So I see people still writing, so I'm just going to wait a hot second. Okay, set, flip it, look at the next problem. Think about how many answers we should have. Has it been writing? Okay, so look at your next problem. Think about how many answers we should have, of course. 3. Now, I'm looking, I graphed it earlier. You can see it over there. I drew the graph for you. I see it hits the x-axis one time. Now, I don't love that that's not exactly at 1. It's not a nice whole number. Doesn't mean it's not a fraction maybe I don't recognize. So you really have choices here right now. So I'm looking at our polynomial. There's 4 terms. How do you factor with 4 terms? Grouping. I could try factor by grouping, but I'm going to pull up my calculator here. Let's punch this guy in. So you punch it into 6x cubed minus 4x squared. We're going to see how good your fraction skills are today. Plus 3x minus 2. Okay, so we already saw the graph over there. I already have it up here. So I'm going to have it find that 0. I know it's close to 1, obviously not right at 1, but I'm going to see if it's something I recognize. So I'm going to do second trace, number 2. Now, we've done this a million times. I'm going to cursor them over there a little bit closer. So you could try factor by grouping if you're like to factor, but if you want to use synthetic division, we need a 0. Nobody wants to guess. Oh, I like that. 0.6 repeating is an exact answer. What fine fraction is that really?
1/3. Oh, right,
2/3. 2/3. 2/3 is an exact answer. Okay, all right, we're winning. So I'm going to jot it down. So here we go. We got some choices right now, okay? Now, if you're looking at this and you're intuitive, I think we're pretty much done. Because how many times does it hit the x-axis? Once. Isn't there only one real answer? I got it right there, right off the old graphing calculator. I'm just going to put GC. If you're like, well, wait, what happens if you factor it by grouping? Which we can do. I'm going to pull 2x squared out of here, the front. I'm going to pull the 1 out. all the things. You know how to factor by grouping. So I've got my 3x minus 2, my 2x squared plus 1. Now, of course, when you set this to 0, this one gives you 2/3. There it is, I got it. What type of answers are going to come out of this 2x squared plus 1? Imaginary, because I'm going to subtract 1, divide by 2. Well, if you square root -1/2, those are imaginary. So this is what's kind of fun about this section. If you're intuitive, I mean, I look at the graph and I'm like, one real answer. I got lucky. My calculator found it. I would have done 0 work and just slapped down the 2/3 and been done. Okay? If you're like, man, I really like to factor. I'm good at grouping. I'm going to factor by grouping. Cool. You'll get the 2/3 right there out of it. And you'll obviously see these are imaginary. Do I care how you do it? No, I sure don't care. As long as you can get all of the answers. All right, let's look at this one. So I graphed it. You can see it over there. I'm cringing a little bit because how many real answers does it look like we have? 4. It looks like it's hitting 4. And I'm also like, oh man, serious. Because it looks like we've got some maybe decimals there. Maybe one nice answer there. Okay, so it looks like we're hitting at 4. So let's take a look here at the graph. Let's punch it in. And we need 4 answers, we're thinking maybe, unless they're imaginary. So punch this one in. 4x to the 4. What do we got? Minus 11x cubed. Minus 22x squared. What's our last one? Let's see. So there's the graph. We already saw it. So first things first. Looking at the picture, we're already pretty certain, or we feel pretty confident that one of the answers is at 4. So if you don't want to do the second trace, the 0, and cursor them over there to 4, because it is kind of obnoxious, remember, look at your table. Okay, so I'm going to scroll. Clearly, for whatever reason, I'm way on the negatives here. Let's scroll. I thought it was 4. Was my guess right at 4? Yeah, because y is 0. So I'm looking pretty good. Do you see a second answer off that table? Yeah. So right now, just from the graph, I know we've got 4 and 0. Now, again, it looks like it touches in 4 places on the x-axis. They're all real. I need the other 2 answers. They're probably going to have square roots in them. They're probably not nice. So we are going to have to do some work to find them. So I'm going to do synthetic division. I think it's easier to divide by 4 than 0. It just seems weird to divide by 0. So I'm going to use the 4. I've got my 4, my -11, my 8. And don't forget, no constant term at the end, no number at the end, so 0 to hold the place. So let's see what we got. 4 times 4. I'm going to add 4 times 5. Add 4 times -2. Add 4 times 0. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 0. We got it. Okay. All right, let's recover our polynomial style answer. So remember, this is 1 down in power from the original, so we're going to be at cubed. 5x squared minus 2x, I'm not putting plus 0. I want to get my answers out of this. Now, of course, factoring is our best friend as always. I see we could pull an x out of all of this, so I'm going to do that just to make my life a little simpler. Trying to make it easy. So, no surprise here, if you set this x, this GCF we took out, equal to 0, isn't that my second answer I saw off the graph? Okay, I'm not going to write it again, we got it. So I am after the other 2 answers out of this thing. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't factor because they're probably gross decimals. Plus, I'm like, multiply to -8, add to 5. Nothing. Nothing multiplies to -8, adds to 5. So now you get to choose. You want to solve that with completing the square, which would kind of stink because you'd have to divide everything by 4 and you'd have a lot of fractions. Or you could use quadratic formula. Personally, I'd probably go quadratic formula. Okay? This is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to use A, B, C. So x equals opposite of E, so -5. Plus or minus the square root. B squared, 5 squared. Minus 4 times A times C. All over 2A, 2 times 4. So again, now I'm just going to go to my calculator. I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to have it do the work for me. I'm going to punch in what's 25 minus 4. Get off the table here. Times 4 times -2. Hit me with an answer. 57. Love it. Now, the reason I said I like that square root of 57, it doesn't simplify. So do we have, I'm going to maybe scroll back up here, but do we have all 4 answers? Yeah, because how many answers are in the blue there, the quadratic formula? 2, and then we knew the 4 and the 0 from the graph. So I do have all 4. Now, sorry, you're probably running out of room at this stage. Let's write the factors for it too, just so you know, of course, how to write the factors with that ridiculous hot mess of stuff. Remember on the test, I'm going to ask for factors and zeros. So you do have to know how to do it. Now, obviously, these are easy. I'm going to have x minus 4. I'm going to have x for that one. I'll probably put x first just because it looks nice, right? So I'm going to put the x first for the 0 answer, the x minus 4. So those 2 are easy. That's nothing to sweat. It's this quadratic formula. Now, just like anytime we have a factor, we have a fraction. Got a fraction. We put the denominator first. So I'm going to put 8x. I'm going to change the sign on the minus 5 to plus. And again, plus minus. I mean, you change the signs, it's still plus minus. So if you go to solve this for x, you'd subtract the 5. Move that over, divide by 8, you'll get the original thing back. Thank God we don't have to FOIL all this out to verify that it actually works. That would be a nightmare, okay? So again, this one, it just asks for, you know, if I ask for zeros, like on the test, like Peyton asked me, on the test, let's just be honest, I asked you for the factors and the zeros, so you do have to know how to write that mess of quadratic formulas factors, okay? All right, let's look at this guy. Use the 0 or root feature of your calculator. Okay, all right. 3 decimals of the zeros, determine one of the exact, use synthetic division, factor the polynomial. So you can see, of course, I graphed it for you already, but we're going to have to punch it in because I got to use that 0 root feature. So third degree, 3 answers. So I see 1, 2, 3. It looks like we have a nice answer maybe here at the far end, but it does want those decimal answers too. So we do have to punch this in and let our calculator do that work for us. So here we go again. Come on, calculator. That's cute. So this is where I said you got to be good on your calculators. Oh, that's weird. What do we got? Plus 40x minus 24. All right. So there's the graph, of course. So I'm going to have it find that first 0. It looks close to 1. Let's see how bad it is. So second, trace number 2, 0. I don't even see my cursor on here. So make sure you're looking at the coordinates. It's way down there at negative 24. So I'm going to right arrow him. Oh, there he is. There he is. Maybe a little too close to the answer. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to cursor above the x-axis. Enter. Nobody wants to guess. So close to 1, you know. Okay, so let's round it. I'm going to put 0.764 for that guy. Got it. Now, the second answer also looks like a hot mess. Okay, so we're going to have the calculator find it. So second trace, number 2 again. Let's cursor over there, right arrow. I'm off the screen. Where are you, cursor? He's at 14. He's coming down. There he is. Okay, close to the answer. Good. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to cursor through the point. I'm going to hit enter. Nobody wants to guess. So, okay, 5.236, let's say. Now, that third far answer does look like a nice answer. I don't feel like doing second trace number 2 again. That's obnoxious. I'm going to check the table. Check the table here. Third answer is nice. What is it off the table? 6. Okay. If you do second trace number 2, it will give you 6 also. But I think it's quicker to look at the table. So I did the first part. Use the 0 root feature. I got all the 3 answers. Okay, got it. Next, determine one of the exact answers. I'm on this part. And use synthetic division. Well, which one's the exact answer are we going to use? 6. So do your synthetic division. Same spiel. Make sure your terms are in order. We should get a 0 remainder. All the things. 6 times 1. And 6 times negative 6. And 6 times 4. And. Okay, we crushed it. I'm going to recover my answer polynomial style, x squared minus 6x plus 4. Now, it wants you to completely factor it, so I need the two exact answers out of this so I can write those as factor form. Is that gonna factor for you? Of course not. Why could we make it easy on you? So you choose, do you want to complete the square or quadratic formula? Honestly, I think complete the square would be a good one on this. Because your lead coefficient's 1, and isn't it easy to do half a 6 and square it in your head pretty fast? I feel like I could do that faster than quadratic formula personally. So I'm going to move the 4 over to the other side. We're going to recalculate this third term to force it to factor by completing the square. So I'm going to do half a 6, 3, squared, 9. Force balance, put that on the other side. All right, this does now factor, multiply to 9, add to -6, -3, -4 plus 9. I'm going to cancel squaring with the root. I'm going to move over here, so I'm going to put the way bottom. I'm going to put plus or minus on my square root of 5. 5's nice prime. Does it simplify? Let's just add the 3 over. Okay, so I have all 3 exact answers too, because here's 2 of them. Don't forget our 6. And you're probably running out of room. We have to write all 3 factors too. Okay, so all 3 factors. So I'm going to do 6 first. That's easy. I'm going to do this guy. We're tired. It's at the end. I'm going to combo with plus minus. So I'm going to put x, of course, 3, switch it to -3, plus minus root 5. And we got it. All right, questions on that guy? So again, time consuming a little bit when you have to list all the factors, all the things. That is as wild as it gets today. Okay?